From Senegal to Sugar Hill, trace the bloodline. 100 years of brilliance through the color line. They thought the shackles broke but kept the mental chain. Langston penned the future while they legislated pain. Harlem's ballrooms birthed the cosmos in mahogany, while lynching trees still decorated southern botany. Josephine, Waker's pearls and Garvey's Navy ships. Du Bois debating destiny with scholarship on his lips. The Renaissance was a renaissance, it was resistance, fam. Every trumpet blast from Armstrong was a battering ram. They gave us minstrel shows, we gave them Sora Neal. Turned depression into art, made the fabricated real. Cotton Club excluded us from tables every set. To form the Deanest Nightly, never free from the debt. But Bessie Smith could shatter glass, shatter cash, shatter lies. Every note she sang contained a revolution in disguise. Build temples from the rubble, make cathedrals from the struggle. Turn the margins to the center, now they study what we scribble. We build temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from. Fast forward through the decades, watch the pattern reassemble. Malcolm's speeches, Martin's marches, every voice begins to tremble to the earth until the structure shows its fractures. FBI was tracking every coon with every pastor, every actor. 40 acres never came but 40 minutes on a stage. To reconvene your consciousness and channelize the rage. From bebop to hip-hop, the fool lines mathematical. Each generation weaponized the beautiful, the radical. They gave us Reagan out as crack and mass incarceration. We gave them Public Enemy and blueprints for liberation. The Harlem Renaissance never ended, just evolved its form. Every freestyle cipher is a brainstorm, is a storm. Where the children of the talented, the tenth that was prophesied, inherit the fire that the water couldn't wash aside. They tried to write us out the narrative. We offered all on text, 100 years of proof, and that we're destined. Where was next? Temples from the rubble, made cathedrals from the struggle. Turned the largest to the center, now they study what we scribble. We built temples from the rubble, every generation double the inheritance of genius that they tried to keep us from.
All right, this is, and you are Under the Groove. Welcome, everybody. This is Under the Groove Podcast. Today is Friday, and we're touching bases with the people. First and foremost, grand rising to each and every one of you. Peace and prosperity, you and yours. All right, let's get it in. It's Friday, man. It's a new day. It's a new day. All right. Let's take it for what it's worth. You know, that sunlight kind of deep, man. Let me hold on. There we go. That makes it a little better. Oh, that's kind of dark, though. All right, it's doable. It's doable. Hold on. A little too much. A little sunlight. There we go. Yeah, that works. All right, so yeah, here we are, man. Here I am, and there you are. It's good to see everybody up in here. Come on in. Let's do what we do. Again, this is Friday, man. We made it from Monday to now. You got to acknowledge that. That's a good look for most of us, man, especially for those who really recognize what the whole thing is all about. It's about life and the experience, all right? It ain't about nothing else, man. All this other stuff is just, it's fodder, man. It's fodder. I acknowledge that, I acknowledge that wholeheartedly. And for some reason, it just seems super dark today. I've been in the sun all day. There we go. I've been in the sun all day. I feel good too, energized. All right, I see you, Queen Nzinga. Thank you for coming in here, sister. Peace and blessings, kings and queens in the RGC. Being here is like a call from the universe that I am entering a phase of enlightenment and deeper awareness. Happy Friday. B1 equals black first. Those of you who are in here don't know that. B1 equals black first. There's nothing politically attached to that. It's just, this thing. It's a black thing. All right. Black first. I think that's part of our problem, just in terms of dealing with all the things we've been dealing with. We haven't gotten to the point where we understand as well as overstand that we have neglected to put us first. That matters. We got to put us first, man, in this life, man, in terms of everything that's going on. If we're not looking at it like that or dealing with life like that, where we're putting black first, that's going to be a problem. And we'll feel the effects. We'll see the effects every day. If we're neglecting to be what we're supposed to be, all that we can be for black first, we're going to know it. We're going to know it. In fact, we pretty much do. It's in how we're not necessarily complaining, but we're pointing out how people deal with us. Okay. That's only because we're not dealing with us first. You know, we put us first, man. They ain't got nothing to say, man. Not a dang thing. You know, and you know, that's just what it is. So I got something in the cut for us. You know, I got a couple of clips I want to drop up in here, man. One is I want to call it, or it is called The Massive Awakening of Black Americans in America. Black Americans, hey man, that includes everybody. All right. If you're melanated and you've been here, you know what this is about. You come, your generational lines are here. Y'all know what we talking about. That addresses or it concerns you. All right. Real spit. Let me see something right quick. Okay. And I may drop a Malcolm clip. It depends, you know. It actually depends on, you know, the atmosphere, you know, the feel, the vibe. But to get down today, it's Friday, like I said. I'm shit. I'm not even winding up. I'm winding down. You know what I mean? From Monday to today, just been busy. Lots going on. You know, there's a lot that has transpired over the week. You know, we seem to be getting caught up in this thing, man, where, you know, we're not representing us, you know, as a whole, you know, and that may present a problem, you know, that may present a problem. So, you know, the suggestion is coming from me to each and every one of you is to, yeah, let's think of ourselves. We should, you know, we should want to work on ourselves first before we profess to want to be able or to be down with working with our other brothers and sisters who very well may be ignorant of what the get down is about or what is coming into effect. You know, this thing called us awakening is actually happening. It ain't no made up shit. Brothers and sisters are waking up daily. I mean, by numbers, man, unseen. You know, the way Trump said, it's levels of, you know, numbers you've never seen before. This is actually happening though in the Black community. So that's a good look. That is an excellent look. Hold on, let me check something out right quick. The things seem kind of slow today. I don't know if the RGC is mad at the Bubster or what, but hey, it's all good. Are there any NBA games on tonight? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So that might present a problem for some of our brothers and sisters. You know, sports is one of them things, you know, one of those, you know, call it what it is, one of those distractions. And that's fine, you know, that's fine. We'll still be here. You know, we'll still be here. This is what we do. We come in to chop it up, man, with the people, man, and see what's on their minds, see what their day was like. What did they make of their day? You know what I mean? This is part of touching bases with the people. We want to understand how your day, how you affected your day. What did you do in it to make it all that it can be? Something, you know, it could be something in regards to how you made it satisfactory to you. What did you accomplish? You know, it's more than just, hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? Or how was your day? You know, so the question should be posed to each and every one of us when we come into contact with one another, interact. Hey, man, what did you do today? What have you accomplished? You know what I mean? That brings it full circle. You know, that puts that individual, you know, especially if they're aware, in a position to say, okay, yeah, I recollect, or I recall, or I intentionally did this, that, and the third, you know, to make my day just, you know, satisfactory to me, you know, to make my day one of productivity, positivity, you know, one of enlightenment or empowerment, you know, whatever the case may be. So that's why that question is asked, you know, at least that's why I ask it, you know, just don't hit with, you know, that old same old. Hey man, what's up, man? How you doing? You know, nah, bring some more to the table, man. Ask the people some in-depth stuff, man. And let's see if it register. Let's see if people are conscious or aware of what they've done in their day. And for the most part, a lot of people, they know when they've done something worthwhile, you know, something productive, something positive, you know, something prosperous, you know, they'll speak on it, you know, especially to one another, to each other. This is what we do. Ain't no hiding behind that fact. This is what we do. You know, we love to let our brothers and sisters know what we've accomplished in the day. And if you ain't on that, I suggest you get on that. That's a good look. That is a good look. All right, there that go. So yeah, man, here we are. All right, here I am, and there you are. Um, to my brothers and sisters, look, y'all, we in a cold struggle. We're in a battle, and for the most part, this goes for each and every one of us. Um, we've yet to get to that point where we know how to compartmentalize, not just situations, but our mindsets, you know what I mean? Our attitudes, things like that. Uh, I think a lot of us are aware of that, but then again, a lot of us, we come into situations we're not always aware of that. We want to, talk about what's good. We want to, discuss those things that are elevating, things like that. But we get in the habit of also talking down on one another. It's part of this program that's been put in front of us. We're all in with that. We've been indoctrinated to act like that. We've been taught and conditioned to act like that with one another. First thing we want to see, oh man, fuck him, fuck her. Why? Why? Get to that point where we ask ourselves why we have certain animosities or disdain for each other. Really dig deep, ask yourself that. I promise you, if you do that, you're going to get to the point where you realize, oh, that's some petty shit. That's some petty stuff. And once we realize that, once we realize how, minute and just, childish and infantile that shit is, we tend to want to, conduct ourselves in a more positive light, you know what I mean? In a better perspective, we realize, oh man, that ain't worth it. That's a waste of my time tripping like that, or thinking like that, acting like that, speaking like that. That's what this thing's about, and that goes double for our brothers and sisters who are in tune with themselves, as well as that which makes them all that they can be, that power, that force, that energy, whatever it is. We got to be mindful of this stuff. You know what I mean? A lot of us are not. We talk the good talk, but we tend to, slip back into that, that darkness, that darkness, that aspect of darkness that's not necessarily good or good energy, so yeah, be mindful of this stuff. Be mindful of this stuff. We're here to reach one, each one, we're here to reach one and teach one. That's what we're here for. We're not here to disparage, belittle, disrespect one another. That's not to get down. That's not to get down. And I know we get in our feelings sometimes. We do. We get in our feelings, and when we do, we don't give a fuck. We just, hey man, we throw it, caution to the wind. We just go in. We crash out. That ain't how it's supposed to be. That's not how we should conduct ourselves, especially if we're on this get down now where we say, man, we're waking up. We're coming into the know. We're becoming more conscious, And if that's the case, then we are aware then of what our responsibilities are, how we hold ourselves accountable, things like that. If we're not functioning like that, then we ain't got there yet, But again, we gotten there, a lot of us, but we tend to backslide. We tend to backslide. We tend to go back to what we know. This attitude we have sometimes with one another, man, is all we know. And we feel out of place or awkward if we ain't acting like that. We got to correct that behavior. That's it. That's my message to brothers and sisters, period, point blank. And again, I don't have an issue about what it is that you worship, believe in, or what is a part of you or what makes you. I don't have an issue with that. Our issue should be how we interact and treat one another, how we love and respect each other, how we hold this, dignity, and how we display it to each other. That's it. That's it. So yeah, no love lost. No love lost, at least not from this end. I done been around the best of the best and the worst of the worst. I've learned from that shit. I've learned, man, that it's easier to be a damn fool, than it is to be an upright and straight up individual, a righteous person, not just in what we think, but what we say and how we act. That's hard. It's hard to maintain that level of consonance, that behavior, that level of how we carry ourselves, how we represent what we are on the inside. It's hard, man. It's easy to be a fool, though. Each and every one of us should know that. That being said, man, I see you up in here, Rakufu. He said, well, it's Friday, last short of week. Positivity is the key to unity, infinity, peace. Man, forever, forever and ever, forever, ever. All right, Antonio, love right back to you, brother. And that salute, as always. I see you. I see you, young warrior. Lisa Moore say happy Friday to the RGC family. Peace, blessings, and love. Brother Bub, B1 Black First. That's what it is. All right, Chris. All right, good to see you up in here hanging out with us, brother. You know, and I'm not gonna I want to say this and I like to move on. If not, we can have the discussion. But I want to say first and foremost, you know, if anybody think that I was out of line, you know what I'm saying, then hey man, I extend my, you know, apologies in that respect. But you know, here's the thing. Again, I was just saying this, and it matters. It matters, man, what we say. We've had these discussions, man. Words matter, you know. Words matter. And we have to acknowledge that most of the words spoken to us have affected us. Real spec. We should know this off the rip, man. Off the rip, we should know better, man, as a people, that words do matter. You know, how we say things to one another, especially, actually matter, man. You know, so I'll hold myself accountable. You know, I'll take responsibility if I said something to offend anyone. The point I want to stress is that, hey, man, we're in here for a purpose, for a purpose, man. And that purpose is to unify, to find love, respect, identity, history, all that shit that matter to us, all those things that we're missing in our daily persona and who we, you know, that shit that really makes us who we are. We're here for that, man. We're not here to disparage one another, you know? So yeah, it's frustrating sometimes, you know, and I could at the same time be responsible for some shit. You know, I probably said something I shouldn't have said. We're not perfect. Not by a long shot. You know, whatever had a hand in making us who we are, you know, that's perfection. Because I think we are perfect. We just don't know how to exercise that yet. But whatever that energy or that force, that God, whatever, is perfect in terms of the design of us. We just haven't reached that level yet, you know. So yeah, man, you know, none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect, but we should work on perfection. We should always work on perfection. That's what I do. That's my task, and I know it's mine every day. When I fall short, and I know I'm falling short, I don't feel good at all, but I'm not depressed. I'm like, okay, man, what do I need to do to perfect my get down, my existence, my relationship, you know, or relationships, you know, how I carry myself, how I speak, how I think. How can I be a better person? That's to get down, man. That's to get down. Because again, man, we're coming into a situation. I think that a lot of us were mindful of it, but we forget how serious this thing is, this transition, this evolution is, man. We forget. And that's only because, man, there's so much coming at us. That's only because there are so many things that have been indoctrinated in us. There's so many things we've been conditioned by that makes it allowable, or that allows us to forget that we're supposed to be working towards perfection. That's it, man. Nothing else should matter. You know, again, that's work. That's our work. That is our work. All right. So that is, man. Again, my apologies, man, if I seem to have just crashed out, you know, but you know, yeah, life can be frustrating. It can be frustrating, man. You know, knowing what we know, man, and then seeing what we see, and you know, hearing what we hear, all of which does not, in some respects, add to or help us to get to where we need to be, man. It's frustrating, you know, and couple that with us having to deal with everything else that goes on outside our doors, or when we're out in society, or when the government got his foot on our neck, or whatever, you know what I mean? It's frustrating. So, all right. Rakufu said, man, the word for today is consilience. Consilience. I hope I said that right. Consilience. There you go. Consilience. Or I already know you're gonna drop that. You're gonna break that down for us, man. As you should, you know, break that down in a sentence. All right, I see you, B60. You say greetings and salutations to you, Bub, and to the RGCB1. Amen. Black first, y'all. That's it. That's all. And it starts with self, no doubt. Rakufu, man, he up in there talking about, man, the experiment's success was attributed to the consonants. Oh, did you spell it wrong? The consonants between the theoretical mathematical models and the empirical data gathering during the final phase. No, I guess you said what you said. Yeah. I'll read that again, though, because, that's kind of deep. The experiment's success was attributed to the consonants between the theoretical mathematical models and the empirical data gathered during the final phase. Appreciate that, bro. One of our scholars, and I think now speaking of that, because I've just last night we were talking about how a lot of our scholars, we hold them, we place them on pedestals. We look at them as these geniuses, these learned people. But I think a lot of us miss the fact that a lot of our scholars, man, their scholastic learning, man, and all that knowledge they have, they don't necessarily apply it to the betterment of the people. Talk a good one. Most of them do. They talk a good one. And when you see them in action, you see who they're in action with. A lot of them, hey man, for the most part, they cater to that that construct, that white supremacy apparatus. They go there, man, to gain favor, to be recognized as an individual in the community or individuals in the community who have sway and say, things of that nature, man. A lot of our people, man, again, we've been affected, man. Even our intellectuals have been affected. I've been one to think that I think the warrior mentality, man, is one that can be trusted. That's what I think. I think that the warrior mentality should come first. Should be one of the first things we understand, that we imbibe, that we make a part of us. Because war is, orchestrated or waged against us in so many different respects or aspects, man. And believe it or not, when we have a warrior mentality, not a soldier mentality, I think there's a difference. When we have that warrior mentality, then I think we're prepared to deal with whatever eventuality may come about. You know what I mean? That's what warriors for. It could be intellectual, it could be political, it could be societal, it could be warfare. You know what I mean? I think warriors are more geared towards dealing with all the things, that have the possibility of attacking us on any front. I think that's what our people should do. We should learn to be warriors first, because again, there's a lot that comes with that, a whole lot. That includes intellect and intelligence. That's me. That's just my, my take on that. All right. Henry Cedello said, man, peace, man. We have to build and destroy the self-destruction mentality and rebuild our mind of frame to a positive frame of mind. One love to everyone. I second that, bro. Again, so, I would like to, in everything I do, man, have it address some type of significance, have it, stand for something, mean something. You know what I mean? That's where I'm trying to get. Because I understand that if I can reach that, hey, man, ain't no stopping. You know what I mean? But I say that to say, because you just said what you said, Henry, build and destroy. The intro talks about the temple being built on the rubble, being built on the rubble, man. That's some serious shit to me, and not only that, but build something to destroy all that we know that is against us, that works against us, that does not benefit us in the least bit. Let's build ourselves up so that we can knock that shit down. You know what I mean? I get that. I'm with that, man. So I appreciate you dropping that in there, Henry. Real spit, man. Real spit. B60 said, man, we are stronger together as a people worldwide. And that's the part we got to get to. We have to find a way, man, to rid ourselves of part ways with this indoctrination of divide and conquer. We have to find a way away from that shit, man. That's the only way. You know, and again, that shit exists for a reason. There's a purpose for it. The more we tend to stay separate, divided, the less we'll accomplish, you know? And again, the system is designed for not us, not each and every one of us to excel, to be empowered. You know what I mean? It's designed to, you know, snatch up individuals from the community, you know, from the families, and, you know what I'm saying, and make them, you know what I mean? It's not for every, you know, it's not designed for everybody to win, you know? It's designed to keep individuals separate and divided. That's just what it's for. But yeah, the stronger we are stronger together than we are apart. No doubt about that. And we have to be all inclusive when we're talking about our brothers. I recall starting Under the Guru podcast, and I was asked a gang of times. This is no fluff, no BS. Hey man, I know you ain't gonna interview Bloods and da da da. And I said, why not? Why not? Why would I not do that? Oh man, you know, this, you know, this Crip, man, or you know, this the Groove, this criminal, you know, wait, hold on though, man. The whole purpose is to bring brothers together, to get rid of that separation that exists amongst us. A lot of us, man, we trip on colors. That's what keeps us apart. Rid ourselves of these colors, and we'll realize immediately we have a lot in common. But that's being blocked. That understanding, that knowledge in terms of what we have in common is being blocked and distracted by these colors we represent, or the words that are attached to them is what keeps us apart. So my stance has been for a long time now, and man, ain't no color shit, man. Either we gonna get along, man, or we gonna all perish, man. Facts, you know. That's exactly what is happening and what will continue to happen if we don't get it together. So yeah, you know, we are stronger together, you know, as a people, and that worldwide. That means worldwide, you know. And we have to respect how each sector go about doing things. So for instance, if, you know, we who have been here forever and we think we got something coming from a government that ain't never gave us nothing, and ain't gonna give us nothing, okay, so be it. Let those who have that issue with the government in that respect deal with that. Don't interfere with that. At the most, assist them, but, you know, don't create or want to create a position where you say, "Nah, I'm a part of that as well. You know, I got to get some of that too." You know, that's where the junk come in at. That's where the mess comes in at. You know, so I'm just saying, man, for those who understand what this thing is really about, you know, we got Africans in Africa who have suffered at the hands of the oppressor, the colonizer. That, you know, they went through that. At the very least, we're supposed to support them, but not jump on the bandwagon and say, "Hey, man, yeah, I was in America, but Africa is my lineage, so I want some too." No, that ain't how we supposed to do that. That's just not how that's supposed to go down, you know? No, you know? All right, Rakufu, you dropped that sentence in there. You say the theory achieved consilience when findings from multiple disciplines converged on a single truth. I'm gonna go in there and do that anyway, so I can have the exact consilience. Okay, in science and history, consilience, also convergence of evidence or coordinates of evidence, is the principle that evidence from independent, unrelated sources can converge on a strong conclusion. In science and history, consilience is the principle that evidence from independent, unrelated sources can converge on strong conclusions. Also, convergence of evidence or concordance of evidence is the principle that evidence from independent, unrelated sources can converge on strong conclusions. Appreciate that, Rakufu. That's the way to do it. The second sentence was the right one for the word for the day. Oh, okay. So consilience wasn't really the one for the word for the day. What was that? Resonance? No, it wasn't resonance. What was it? Let me find that. Oh, consonance. I think that was the word. Consonance was the second one. All right, appreciate that, Rakufu. You say movie for the weekend is Marked for Death. All right. Hey man, speaking of movies, right quick, I'm gonna jump in there on there. So yeah, I go, I go in the room, man, everything, shower, get everything out the way, man. I get in the bed. Wife got That's My Mama on, right? And I recall growing up watching that show, man, every week, we grew up watching that shit. But now as an adult and being mindful of, what I'm mindful of, it was a cringe worthy I watched that, man. I watched the show, maybe 3 or 4 of them, just cringing, just like, oh man, throughout, man. Yeah. And I was like, dang, man, the buffoonery, man. It didn't sit well with me last night watching that. Before that, I think we watched Claudine. Claudine was, that was a good movie, man. That was a good movie. But watching That's My Mama, I swear, man, I was like, damn, that's what it was. That's what it was, So I appreciated the fact that I was, older now, a little more aware now to realize that, damn, that didn't really do us any good, in terms of the buffoonery, way, way, way more buffoonery in there than it was any positive messages. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I would like to say I almost said every character on that sitcom, partook or lines were about, just stupid shit, buffoonery, except for the mother. She seemed to be a little more refined, laid back and dignified. You know what I mean? Everybody else, man, was just like off the chain, So yeah, so we're gonna check that movie out, man. Marked for Death. I think I've seen that. Man, no doubt. Queen Nzinga said, Rakufu, consilience, good word for the conversations we've been having this week. That lady there is smart. That lady there got a whole lot of sense. All right. Appreciate that, Queen Nzinga. All right, Raymond Scott, what it do, loved one? You say tapping in with your bub. Peace to you and your family. Greetings to the Royal Group congregation. B1 does equal black first to the kings and queens. And I want to reciprocate, get that right back to you, bro. Peace and prosperity to you and yours and the Rays as well. It's always an honor, man, to have you here. I feel honored, man, for you to, come hang out with us, man. So appreciate you for that, bro. Appreciate you for that. What's on your mind today, man? What you got for us, bro? Drop us a gem or a jewel. My pockets are empty. It's Friday. I need to fill them up with something, man. By the time this thing over, I want to be able to walk away, go in my pockets, put everything out, my nightstand, man, go through it and say, oh, okay, what I'm saying? I got some wealth. I want wealth, man. That type of wealth, Appreciate you though, bro. Rakufu said, thanks, Queen Nzinga. That's what had me choose it. Raymond Scott said, yes, ma'am. Yes, we are affected in every aspect of our existence. We witness this reality every single day. I added single, bro. Not that it was, sufficient how you put it, but then just boom. But every single day, man, we witness this reality, no doubt. The most harmful part is black on black hate, and that begets black on black crime, if you ask me. But see, the black on black hate, it comes from the individual first, That's the root of it. It comes from that individual who perpetrated. Those individuals, us who perpetrate hate on our brothers, we fail to realize that we actually, we have a great degree of hate for ourselves. This is why we do what we do. But we've been taught this shit. This is not no natural thing, man. This is, it's just not. I want to liken hate to a phenomenon, man. It's almost unexplainable, man. It's some shit that god dang, and every time we see it, it's damn near new. Like some new shit. The hate be that deep, it'd be visceral, But yeah, man, this shit is some learned behavior, man. And we act it out, we display it, on each other more than anyone else. We do it to ourselves. A lot of what we do in our individual lives, man, would point to or indicate that we have self-hate. We hate ourselves. And as a result, man, it's nothing for us to hate that individual, that brother and or sister who resemble us the same way we hate ourselves. We'll hate them at the same degree or level that we hate ourselves. That's some messed up shit. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I, was trying to stress last night, especially. We got to get beyond this shit, man. We got to get beyond it, man. Appreciate that comment, though, Raymond Skull. Real spit, man. Rakufu say, Bub, just to know, ask your AI what position is better to take, a warrior or a soldier, and read what it says. All right. Amen. Okay. What position is better to take, a warrior or a soldier? Oh, this thing acting up. Which position is better to take, a warrior or a soldier? Hold on. Now give me some bullshit. The AI ain't responding. Let me go to this one. Boom. There we go. Which position is better to take, a warrior or a soldier? Okay, so this says right here, bro, choosing the better position depends on whether you value personal autonomy and a lifelong martial identity, the warrior, or professional discipline and collective efficiency, the soldier. While the terms are often used interchangeably in modern contexts, they represent distinct philosophies. That's what more, anyway. The warrior, a lifestyle and identity. A warrior is typically defined by an individualistic martial spirit and a lifelong commitment to combat as a way of life. Motivation, driven by personal honor, glory, or a specific cause rather than a government paycheck. Autonomy, often acts independently, making personal moral judgments and choosing their own battles. Mindset, lives to fight. Battle is a means of personal achievement or spiritual transformation. Historical examples, samurai, knights, and ancient Greek heroes like Achilles. I hate they did that. But anyway, the soldier, a profession and collective. A soldier is a professional member of an organized military force trained to work as part of a highly disciplined unit. Motivation, fights for a state, nation, or specific mission. It is often a job with pay and benefits. Structure, operates within a strict chain of command, prioritizing orders and collective strategy over individual initiative. Mindset, fights to live. The goal is to complete a mission efficiently so that they can eventually return home. Historical examples, Roman legionnaires and modern U.S. Army personnel. Which is better? Take the warrior path if you prefer individual excellence, personal freedom, and a life where your identity is inseparable from your skills as a fighter. Take the soldier path if you value being part of something larger than yourself, prefer structured environments, and want the protection and resources of a professional organization. In modern militaries, the ideal is often a hybrid, where professionals are trained as soldiers but encouraged to adopt a warrior ethos, a mindset of selfless service and never-ending perseverance. All right, there you go. And I read it to the full, you know. I read it to the full. So I'm gonna stick to my guns. I'd rather be a warrior. I'd rather be a warrior than a soldier, you know. And I think that because as such, I won't, you know, warriors can be led blindly. Warriors, if they are built like that, if they have that type of training, they'll go and do some shit and they won't have a you know, they're just following orders, man. You know, I get the other parts where, yeah, they work as a unit. I get that. Warriors do as well. Warriors do as well, you know, but I think a soldier, though, is more geared towards taking orders or following the direction of those who are in charge rather than, you know, having an understanding that, you know, they should serve or they should serve a greater purpose rather than or other than following the direction and leadership of those who may not have their best interests at heart. And that's why I separate the two, you know, and I understand the makeup of a soldier. I get that, you know, but I think I understand and agree more with what a warrior is all about, you know. That's just me, you know. But I appreciate you dropping that on me because, yeah, I'm enlightened. Don't get me wrong. I'm enlightened. I'm enlightened. They say in many modern militaries, the ideal is often a hybrid, where professionals are trained as soldiers, but encouraged to adopt a warrior ethos, a mindset of selfless service and never-ending perseverance. So there that is, man. I appreciate you directing me to that, though. Real spit, Rakufu. Real spit, man. Living, we learn. So I won't totally disregard, you know, and I never did that role or the role of a soldier. I think they play a role, they play a part for sure, especially in terms of what the hell we need to be going through or what we have before us. We're gonna need that, no doubt. So I think it's safe to say that it would be cool to, you know, start out as soldiers. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, you know, but eventually the goal should be, in my mind, you know, in my opinion, to become warriors, you know. I think warriors take up those causes that, you know, are not necessarily given to us or directed by others, you know, to take up. We have the presence of mind to know when, okay, it's time to go to war for this right here. I'm not going to wait for nobody, you know what I mean, to tell me, okay, it's cool, you know, this flank go here, that flank. No, you know, that's how I look at that. But yeah, I appreciate you, bro, nonetheless. All right. Chris said, man, being a warrior is also being prepared. Henry said, that'll say 100, brother Bub. Henry said, man, together we are strong. Divided, we fall. That's the truth. B60 said, man, we are not going to agree on everything, but we need to find those commonalities to help us bond. I'm with that. And I would, you know, for the sake of the people, I would take a back seat to being a warrior. I would, hey, man, if it's necessary and it's called for, yeah, I'll be a soldier. You know, I know how to follow. I had to learn how to follow before I got to the point where I could lead, you know, and I think that's what warriors do. They lead, you know, But soldiers, I was a soldier, man. You know, if it's okay to call it that, especially in the respects that I'm referring to. In the streets, man, there was a hierarchy. I was following. I was a soldier. You know what I mean? I was that for a long time, and I appreciated it because I learned a lot as a result of it. You know, and also just because that's what it was first. When the point came, or the understanding, the acceptance that I had evolved into a warrior or a warrior mind state, I was a better leader because I had learned how to follow first. And that's what I mean by that. So I had no problems with that, bro. Appreciate you dropping that as well, though, M60. Real spit. Raymond Skull said, man, by me being out of state, I was thinking in LA, it had calmed down. Hearing the feedback you were getting lets me know this group's cohesion is major due to different sets we come from. We're the example, and that's just, man, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that is as a result of a lot of us being soldiers first. And you didn't necessarily have to be attached to nobody's street gang. You know what I mean? But, I think there that is, that fact remains that, because we come from different sections in the community as a whole, man, we have more in common than we realize, you know what I mean? And therefore it allows for us to have a greater understanding, or it makes it even easier for us when we get past the BS to bond better. We realize that, yeah, we have commonalities and we are the same. That's what I think. So I appreciate you dropping that, Raymond Skull. Rakufu say, hey, no, bub. Okay, got you. Consilience was the word for today. The last definition was accurate for this word. Got you, bro. All right, Smoke. See you up in here, man. Long time no see. He says, man, it's always good to see you. Peace and prosperity to you, brother, to you and yours. It's always a pleasure and honor to have you with us. All right. It's a good look. It's a good look, man. Henry said, man, we came out first, brother Bub. Wait, what came out first, brother Bub? That's my mama, or what's happening? I was born in 74. Damn, you messed me up with that one. Oh man. Oh man, I'm stuck on that one. What came out first? That's my mama, or what's happening? Because I think one was a spinoff from the other. I'm not sure. I think that's how that went. One was a spinoff from the other. I can't call it, bro. I don't remember. I don't remember, man. But hopefully somebody in this get out will enlighten us, man. Help me to remember which came out first. I just cannot remember, bro. My bad. All right, Grand Rising as well to you, Smoke, man. Good to see you. Like I say, to have you up in here. You say, man, we just have to watch out for the people who would dare lead us to the slaughter, to our enemy's domain. And again, this man, that's crazy. You saying this? That, man, seriously, that's what I was trying to allude to last night. This was what I was trying to get to last night. And I wasn't speaking to no one in Argonaut, you know what I mean? But just in general, in terms of those individuals, that come from our ilk, who supposedly are our leaders. You know what I mean? My point was that, hey, man, we have to be mindful of these individuals because our best interest is not their best interest. And I know that might be hard for a lot of us to digest or to accept, but those are facts, man. Those are facts. And I'm telling you, we can go and do the research and start reading on a lot of our intellectuals who call themselves, our leaders or self-appointed leaders or leaders appointed by others, over us. There's a lot of history we don't discuss about these individuals because I think it's just more about being just dignified about the whole process. Okay, them was our brothers. That was in a time when, everybody was trying to survive. I don't condone it, me, myself, you know what I mean? But I get it. Yeah, we just have to watch out for the people who would dare lead us to the slaughter of our enemy's domain. And most of our leaders, they haven't led us here. They had a hand in it, but they have helped to keep us here in the enemy's domain. Look at it like that. You know, what's the foundation of the enemy's domain? If you ask me, I think it's capitalism. That is their thing, man. And I'm telling you, it's detrimental to us. That's another thing I'll be trying to light on. Capitalism is not our friend. It sets us apart. It divides us. It creates a situation where, man, you know, there's nowhere in the world based upon capitalism that we'll all be able to have everything we want. It don't work like that, you know? So there are some of us, or there are some in our get down who, you know, they lead us or take us deeper into the domain of those individuals, man, who, you know, need us in it, you know? Without us, man, as a part of this get down, if we weren't in this domain, man, it would collapse. Let's put it like that. It would collapse. I saw I was reading last night, man. I've been misquoting what our worth is in terms of consumerism. I'm under the impression we're at 1.5 trillion, man. We're almost at $2 trillion annually. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine what $2 trillion would do for us? $2 trillion guarantees that we could create our own economy separate from theirs, believe it or not. Separate from theirs. I don't know, man. It's a whole lot, man. Raymond Skull, man, says, from reading AI, it seems like the characteristics of both intertwine with each other. And that was the impression I got, that AI was, you know, attempting to make it. Said they're hybrids, you know, they go together, actually, you know, one is the other, others, they're differences, but, you know, it's a hybrid. They come from one company, other company, whatever. But yet they are, it gives you the impression that they are interchangeable or they are the same. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. For me, like I say, I know for a fact that, to be a soldier, you have to follow. You have to follow. And you have to be disciplined in such a way where you'll follow orders and commands, whether you think they're good or not. You know? And that's just the way that's laid out. You know, that's that foundation. That's part of that foundation of being a soldier. You have to abide by an order or a command that you may not agree with. I think that's what sets us apart, or that's what sets apart warriors from soldiers. You know, a warrior is able, has the ability or the right to utilize conscience, to make a decision as to whether what that warrior partakes in, or what he or she does is right or wrong. Is it for the good, of not just self, but, whatever that cause is, or is it detrimental to it? A soldier does not have that privilege, or that right to think like that. It must, or he or she must follow orders, It must be disciplined in such a way that it got to go along with what is being dictated to the soldier. Whereas a warrior chooses the causes that he or she takes part in or becomes a part in. That warrior is able to decide whether or not that mission is worth the while. A soldier does not have that privilege. No, so all the time, man. Good shit all the time. Raymond Skull going to say, man, so do we evolve from soldiers to warriors? It would seem logical if such is the case. Soldiers evolve to warriors, and that's what I'm telling you guys. And just from my experience, I came up in the ranks. I can tell you right now, and man, shit, I started out You know, you hear stories of most individuals who come up in the streets in gangs. Some of them came into it hitting the pavement hard. You know what I mean? Representing just with the business initially. That's not how we came up in it. The generation I come from. You know what I mean? We came up doing different things. You know what I mean? We came, in fact, I was trained first as a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout. Figured, you know what I mean? That makes sense, So when I got into, or when I was introduced into the gang life, I actually fit right in as an acolyte, as a beginner, somebody that, hey man, certain homie said something, you did it. And it wasn't until the growth started taking place that, decisions were made. The soldier was starting to transition into a warrior and was able to, talk back on some shit that might not have been right, correct, or legit. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think that process should begin, or it does begin, as a soldier first, and then evolving into a warrior. That's my take on it. But that's my experience. That's why I'm speaking on it the way I am. I came up on on the set as a Hoover, starting from the bottom up. Most of us did. My generation, and I not to glorify brag about anything, because I'm totally against that shit. But when it came our time, like, whoa, the shit was crazy. You know what I mean? The shit was crazy. Because now, we were wired to think like warriors fighting for a cause that meant every damn thing to us, man. And we were trying to lay destruction in our wake, But again, that's just from the soldier training. So what that could allude to, or what that could say, is like, hey, man, that training, if we get training, man, that's, given to us a certain way, it's some good shit. It could be some good shit. If we're trained in a manner or way that's detrimental or destructive, then that means that warrior, if there's a transition, if one ever occurs, this warrior could be a destructive type of individual. Was that too, you know what I mean? And it was only after I was able to recognize or realize that, wait a minute, this ain't the way this is supposed to be, But I came up following. I came up in the ranks, man, We came up fighting each other, learning how, we came up with bullies, And I have to say I appreciate that, because it did something for me, But when that time came, it was not just recognized in me that I had transitioned, to a warrior. If my loved ones, my peers hear me speaking, if I'm allowed to say such a thing, it was recognized not just through me, but my peers as well, that I was in that role of a warrior. I was in the role of leadership, straight up, And again, as I continue to evolve as a warrior, I begin to see a lot of mistakes, or a lot, I had a lot was attached to that shouldn't have been, and so I had, not redefine what a warrior was, but I had to go back from scratch, you know what I mean? And, reconstruct what a warrior should be. So I'm appreciative, man, of my experiences in that respect, But yeah, I agree though, Raymond, man, it should, if that's the case, yeah, we should be soldiers first. But what kind of training are we getting? Who are we getting that training from? What are we trained to be soldiers for? You know what I mean? That matters as well. But yeah, it is logical to transition from a soldier to a warrior, I think. This is my opinion. Rakufu said, damn, bub, both of them, warrior and soldier, sound great. They do. And again, man, you have to respect what a warrior or what a soldier starts out as being. And I think that, the training for a soldier doesn't stop at that soldier remaining a soldier. Most 4-star generals did not start as 4-star generals, correct? Most of them started as privates. You know, you had some conscripts, some that had family and money. They might have came in as, lieutenants, sergeants, or whatever the case may be. However, they still had to work their way up from soldierdom into that 4-star general, which is supposedly recognized as a warrior, So hey man, yeah, they both are good. I'll repeat that a soldier is even better if he's trained appropriately. And this is what our young brothers and sisters in the streets are missing. That solid training on how to be soldiers. If they get that right, they get that shit correctly, by the time they evolve into warriors, they'll be able to instruct these young brothers and sisters coming up who are our soldiers and how to be soldiers in the right way. Right now, and a lot of them they're misguided soldiers. They're soldiers, but they don't fit the bill of that type of soldier that evolves. And I'm only saying this because I was one. So I'm saying, hey man, where the mistake is, or where we go wrong in training. Someone asked me a week or so ago, what was my training like? Or yeah, man, I had all that. And I have to acknowledge that most of it was wrong. I've had some great teachers, some great instructors, drill sergeants, so to speak, if you will. And I had some terrible ones. Truth to power, man. Truth to power. To this day, I know those generals, those originals. I know them, and I still interact with them. I respect and love them. Just like to this day, I still remember those generals or those OGs that, looking back on it now, they weren't fit to be that. I like to think that everybody that came up under me, in their soldierdom into whatever they claim to be now, whether it be a warrior or just a man, got something from me that was concrete, that was productive. I like to think that, I can only, be judged, according to that, depending on those individuals today. What are they doing? How do they carry themselves, And if it's not appropriate, if it's not up to par, then, I stand accused. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but, it is logical, man, to transition from a soldier to a warrior. We see it all day, every day, man. A lot of these individuals out here on these streets, they be on these platforms and they be talking about, or these channels, they're generals. No, they're not. A lot of young brothers, man, yeah, they're soldiers, but they're not the right type of soldier. And this is why we see these individuals who call themselves generals, not even fitting the mark, not even making the grade, man. For real. Look at what they're saying and what they're doing. That tell you right there. I think a warrior, man, when he reaches that point or that level, there's a certain dignity attached to that and self-respect. So yeah, man, the warrior and the soldier, they both are great. They both not just sound great, but they're great, man. And they are great lessons and trainings that we should have, not just as brothers, but as sisters as well. In history, we had some of our better warriors didn't take no crap, no shit, were women, our sisters. Queen Nzinga, that name is worthy. You know what I'm saying? Queen Candace. I mean, just, hey, man. Warriors. Come on, man. So, yeah. Sounds great, brother. It's even better, man, when they exist and they pushing for the people. That's what I say. Smoke said, man, Raymond Cole, man, AI is a studied thought process from the living created thought of God within self. Let me read that again. Make sure I caught that. AI is a studied thought process from the living created thought of God within self. Yeah, I'm gonna chew on that one. That one right there, smoke. That's gonna, man, all up in there, man. Rakufu said, man, I think both of them, the soldier and the warrior. I think both of them, the soldier and the warrior, have positive attributes that can be blended and merged something greater or merged into something greater. And I don't disagree. I don't. I agree with you wholeheartedly, brother. Chris said, man, we can be both a soldier and a warrior. And I appreciate you saying that, because I've said this. I don't know if I think I've said this before, in the Get Out. Hey, man, I know how to follow. I know how to be a soldier. I was a soldier. I know exactly how to be a soldier. Qualifiable general, a warrior wants to lead, and I know without a doubt that's the leader. I could be a soldier. Promise you that. I've had the experience. I understand the necessity of being one, so that wouldn't be a problem. That wouldn't be a problem. Good point you made, though. Good point you made, man. Rakufu. And you as well, Chris. Rams Gold said, man, Miami, man, right on, and salute, bro. Yeah. Rakufu going to say, Bub, your overstanding of the soldier/warrior evolution is probably the best way to merge something greater, maybe even a master. I don't know. I tend to think, and I get that last part, maybe in the master. Yeah, man, I just want to be, the best class of a warrior they can be. I don't need to be a master. I don't need to be a master. And truth be told, man, I want to reach that plane or that dimension where I discover who the master and what the master is. You know what I mean? That's what I'm waiting on. But yeah, no, seriously speaking, man, and I'm serious when I just said that part, but no, master is not, I don't need to be master class. I'm content with the role, or the position, or accepting that role and position as a warrior. That I'm cool with that, if I'm cool with that. Like I said, I'm also cool with the fact that if there needs to be, and I don't look at it as a digression to back to a soldier. I don't look at it like that. If that's necessary, then that's what I must be. I don't have a problem with that. But I don't need to be. There's no must for me to be a master. You know what I mean? Shit. I only look at that when I'm playing Call of Duty. You know what I mean? I'm going today. Yeah, I'm trying to reach master and legend, But in real life, in terms of, this physical form or the spiritual aspect of me, which, again, I'm trying to reach that level, man. I'm trying to connect with my spirit, man. And if I should attain that, get to that point where I'm on that plane or in that dimension where I'm tapped into my spirit, and whatever power that be anoints me a master, hell yeah, give me that. Seriously speaking, man. But right now, nah. I'm cool. Appreciate it, though. Frederick Hasabe, man, right back to you. You know how it go, man. I'm gonna give you 4 right back. Love you for that. All right, good to see you up in here. Peace and prosperity, you and the fam, bro. I see you though, Fat Rat Playboy. Good to see you up in here again, man. You say peace to you and the RGC, Big Bud. Right back to you, Fat Rat. Love and respect, bro. Real respect. Smoke said, man, all foreigners have to leave, and all the assets go back to the indigenous people on the land. I swear to you, I just thought of this the other day I thought about this, as a matter of fact, when Donald Trump had came in and said, hey, man, this is what I'm about to do. I'm about to get all of them out of here, right? That situation, that policy. And I said, damn, man, my mind said, man, there could be more to that. They might even get to the point where, even if you hey, man, you applied and you've been here, you still got to go. And all them assets, they would take all their shit, And I said, damn, man, that'd be some cold shit. But then I thought about it, I said, man, all this shit that they're claiming theirs, man, we get to such a point where, we don't just come into the know, but we own, who we are spiritually and everything else. Do we take all our shit back? Would that matter? And I had to have that conversation with myself. I said, no, I don't think that's going to matter. I'm not sure though, I'm not sure. Because I tend to think if we reach that level of spirituality, materialistic shit ain't gonna matter a spit, man. You know what? What? What would that matter? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, man, I hear you on that part though, right there, man. Give us our shit back. All right, I've toyed with that thought, yo. I've toyed with that thought, no doubt. Rakufu said, man, it seems that children are soldiers of their parents. And when they grow up and have a family, they become warriors now for their family. Yeah, I can attest to that as well, But again, I think what needs to be, we should always consider in light of what we're talking about in that perspective. There are good soldiers and bad soldiers. There are good warriors and bad warriors, So some of our soldiers who growing up and they're being taught or trained by bad soldiers, man, is not a good look. So if they should ever evolve to become warriors, then guess what? There's a chance that they will be, bad warriors, And the only thing that could prevent that is whether or not this soldier has the presence of mind to understand that, okay, there's an evolution attached to this process. But, that evolution has to be experienced, lived through, appropriately, in the right way. I think that's the only way. Because again, yeah, we got soldiers all day long being born in the families who call themselves, those in the family's parents who call themselves general warriors and, don't know if they foot the bill. You know what I mean? I mean, shit evident, man. Social media tells us so. I don't know. I'm just saying. Something to think about. I just saw something the other day. A little boy. And man, this child had to be no more than 5 years of age. Little black child. Was at some type of function, just blew it out the game, and throwing up the game sign, talking that talk, and I can hear the adults in the background, prompting this child to do these things. What kind of warriors are these? What kind of soldier would that little boy turn out to be as a result of that? So yeah, man, they're soldiers and warriors in each and every one of our families. But the question begs is, are they good soldiers? Are they good warriors to those young soldiers coming up behind them? That's the thing, I think, man. That's the question I think should be answered, Rakufu, again, you said it seems that children are soldiers of their parents. And when they grow up and have a family, they become warriors. Now, they become warriors now for their families, right? But yeah, and I'm only attaching to that. What type of soldier and what type of warrior do they become? What type of soldier are they as they grow? What type of warrior do they manifest into when they get older? That I think that's the issue. Fat Rat Playboy said, man, and I'm, always waiting on him, man, to drop some gems on us. He said, man, soldiers follow instructions. Warriors are often led by passion, desire, and individuality, as well as causes. All right, let's throw that in there. Obedience is better than sacrifice in a military construct, right? Which is imperative to building a nation. And so, yeah, and appreciate you dropping that, Fat Rat. We were just discussing that. And it was, imparted to, anyone that's in here listening right now that, yes, soldiers are designed for one thing, obedience, follow instructions. You know what I mean? That's the truth. That's the truth. Warriors are led by a different creed or ethos, We decide the causes, whether they're righteous or not. We know what to fight for the most part. You know what I mean? We tend to defend that which is right, upstanding, in most cases. That's what a warrior is supposed to do. So, yeah, you dropping that, man, just solidifies or it validates what's already been said by the brothers in here. So, yeah, man, appreciate that. And then you go on to say warriors will hold less value, especially in the military. No doubt. No doubt. And again, soldiers, though, they're designed and they're trained in such a way where they won't question authority. They'll do exactly what they're told. You know, a soldier, if you got 2 or 3 soldiers sitting in front of a console, and each one of those consoles has a red button that would detonate a nuclear weapon, when they get the call to do that, you know, but what are the chances that a soldier can be there and have a conscience in spite of all the training, that indoctrination, that conditioning, decide still that, wait a minute, man, nah, this ain't the way to go. I don't know. Something to think about, man. So yeah, warriors would or will hold less value, especially in the military or in a military setting. No doubt about that. Rakufu said, man, look, in other words, different ages of understanding requires a label of development: soldier, warrior, master. I get you, bro. I hear you loud and clear. Raymond Cole said, man, I agree, Bub, that our youth are really in need of being taught by strong leadership and discipline from us, real ones who own man time. Yeah, I think that's what's lacking, man. And we talk about this often. We talk about the state of our community, you know what I mean? And that means each and every one of them. Why is in that state? You know what I mean? Is it because the lack of leadership? Is it because, warriors aren't, presenting guidance, and direction, for soldiers to follow in order for them to be the best that they can be? Maybe that is the case. I don't know. But yeah, man, without that, what you just mentioned, yeah, we're going to continue to have what we see in our streets, man. And the crazy thing about it, these what we call soldiers in our streets, they don't follow orders. There's no obedience, there's no respect for hierarchy, none of that, That's the danger, man. Therein lies the real danger of that whole get out, man. Rakufu said, man, I know you're content with it, but the creator may have you continuing your evolution as you get wiser and older. Master is the end result. I don't disagree. And I'm just saying, man, I'm content at my station, on my stage, what I'm saying? If I'm called upon, I'm pretty sure, man, but that my soul, my spirit would know, and I would follow. I would do, I think, I would follow what the vibe, what the frequency, what I'm saying, what that energy dictates. No doubt about that. No doubt about that. No doubt about that, bro. Smoke said, man, can we call in on the show to talk to you, OG? Yeah, we can. As a matter of fact, I got that thing hooked up, man. I just, I tried it a couple times. Nobody wanted to call in, so I didn't make no big issue of it, bro. But we do have the apparatus or the connection where that can be done. We do have that. Hold on, let me look at something right quick. Yep. Last time I tried it was April 14th, but it exists. It's there. Let me see. How do I send that out? Oh, I think I got to put it in the link. Yeah. Hold on, y'all. And again, I don't make no excuses. I ain't good at this part right here. Trying to figure out how to do it. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me write this down. All right. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I think this is how you do it. All right. There you go. So I wrote that down right quick, man. Oh, my bad. Yeah, I wrote that down right quick. So yeah, it's there. It's there, Smoke. It exists. It exists. And man, Bub is just fine too, bro. Bub is just fine for me. I love it like that. Trust me. Rakufu say, man, that's why our ancestors wrote the moral and good character constitution called the 42 Laws and Principles of Ma'at. I have not robbed, killed, slept with my brother's wife, etc. Continue. As a soldier learns the 42 laws and becomes more aware of them, they become warriors, applying them, then reach the last stage of master, pharaoh, and lead the society. All right. Lace me, man. I ain't tripping. All right. Smoke said, man, why is it that the pronunciation to the word soldier has the pronunciation soul in it? Soldier. Yeah, soul. Yeah. All right. Why is it that D-I-E-R, dire, in soldiers, the pronunciation sounds like jury? Okay, let me read that again. Let me get that Google password. Somebody try to get in my email? Why is it that the pronunciation to the word soldier has a pronunciation soul in it? Question mark. Why is it that D-I-E-R at the end of soldier in soldiers, the pronunciation sounds like jury? Soldier, soldier. Or juror. Sounds like, yeah, juror, soldier. Yes, soldier. I got you. Why? Yeah, break that down, man. Shit, I'm stuck. Rakufu said, or soldier is spirit of God, and that reminds me of the sister Soldier Janice, and that's the name she goes by, and spelt that way as well. So soldier is a spirit of God. You questioning, Mark? I don't know. Tell us. Fat Rat said, man, what is the main reason all things must be made new? You said, what is the main reason? Fat Rat, that's a good question. Damn. Fat Rat Playboy asks, man, what is the main reason all things must be made new? I'm not even gonna throw my hat in that ring, man. And I'm waiting on you, Fat Rat, to drop that in there, man. Laces, anybody for that matter. I don't want to touch that one. I'm not fully clear on that. So hey, man, drop them jewels up in here, man. Rakufu said, man, Soldier Rastafari. I don't know why I saw that coming, but okay. I don't know why I saw that coming, but okay. Now look here. I got we just talking, man. We just going in. That's fine too. I'm cool with that. I ain't gonna lie. I got a couple of clips, man, and you guys let me know. Well, let me see. One is called The Massive Awakening of Black Americans in America right now is bringing forth results. So anybody agree with that? Do we agree that there is a massive awakening of Black Americans? Our brothers and sisters, our kings and queens are now waking up and bringing in forth results? That's the question. I like to know the answer to that. Yeah. I see you, man. Soldier Rastafari, I. Yeah, I want to drop that. And I got it chopped up in bits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In 10 parts, I cut out a lot of the the side talk, the sidebarring is what we call it back in the days, But I want to drop a few of those right quick, and we're gonna come back to these questions and see what we can, let me wait and see first, man, because I like an answer to Fat Rat's question. What is the main reason all things must be made new? I like an answer to that, man, as well. I like to, see what that end result is in terms of what the reply is. So y'all come on up in here. Let's get an answer to that question. Come on, Fat Rat, man. Man, nudge him. Shit. All right, what we got here? All right, here's this clip, y'all. We'll come back. I'm pretty sure we'll have an answer to that. All right, again, man, the title is, man, a massive awakening of Black Americans in America right now is bringing forth results. And let's be the judge of that. Let's be the judge of that. And just so you know, Smoke, I haven't forgotten you talking about the number to call in. I wrote it down. I got to, go in, compartmentalize, go inside my head, man, and find a way to actually do that without messing it up, bro. So before we hang up, we're going to attempt that. All right. Let's do this right quick. Whoa. Let me make sure. See, I almost messed up, y'all. All right, there we go.
Black Americans are waking up to who we really are inside of this country, and I absolutely love it. But one thing with our awakening is that we've been ruffling a lot of feathers in the so-called diaspora. And it's exposing how many of these different groups really feel about Black Americans. It's crazy. You can be from Nigeria, live inside of the United States, but be proud Nigerian. You can be from Ghana or other parts of Africa and be proud of your country. You can be from Haiti or a Jamaican and still be proud of those things, even though you live here. But once we flex on how we're proud to be an American, it's all of a sudden an issue. Now that we are proud of our own lineage without being attached to everything else, now it's an issue.
This week in Woodland Hills, Trading Academy is hosting a free trading and investing workshop for
Yeah.
investors who want to learn about.
Now that we've been uncovering all of these different benefits that was specifically made for Black Americans that many of your groups have been eating off of for years in the name of all of us being Black, now it's an issue. Now you guys started wanting to be Black once Trump started bringing up that 14th Amendment. Now everybody Black once ICE is out there in them streets. I love that we're separating ourselves. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news, but every time a crime happens and that skin is dark, they have been naming countries now. Well, nationalities and ethnicities. Previous to that, or a year ago, even 2 years ago, they would just say that person is Black. And those crime numbers are now attributed to just being Black, but now they're separating it. And we're starting to see the levels of crime or the statistics on crime drop amongst Black Americans.
All right. Now, but that being said by that brother, again, we started out talking about the dissension, man, the division amongst the people, it's a sickness, man, we have, and I don't care where we come from in terms of the diaspora. We all have this illness, man, about each other, man. We have more issues with each other than we do with those individuals who oppressed us and who murdered us, who committed genocide against us. Again, that's all over the diaspora. And this is what we were talking about last night, or what I was trying to stress last night, was the fact that this is the problem. This thing, this Willie Lynch mentality, no matter where we come from, we all exhibit, the effects of it, man. We just so much division, and we're crabs in a bucket. No matter where we come from to where we land, we're in this bucket, and we tend to want to tear each other, bring each other down, rather than support and prop one another up. I was mentioning, okay, man, so whatever issues that took place in Africa, those brothers and sisters, and their ancestors, that was their experience, and there should be no way, shape, form, or fashion that Black Americans would want to go over there when they find out that, for instance, let's say hypothetically, reparations were going to be paid to them from Germany, from the UK, France, Italy, United States, and go over there like, hey, man, I'm happy. No, man, that's not right. You know what I mean? It's no more than it is any right for Africans outside other parts of the diaspora to come here in the United States, where Black Americans have went through what we went through and have fought for those things that they enjoy, as a result of our struggles, our blood, sweat, tears, and lives, and try to claim, aspects of whatever we think we may have coming from the government. That's not right as well, But I think the worst of it is that this is what we do to one another. That's the worst of it, that this is how we treat each other, We don't respect each other. Going back to what I was saying earlier about us men here, how we treat each other here. That's self-hate, man. It's a cold illness, And you have to hate the individuals, man. It have to be self-hate first for any, disdain disrespect or hatred for other brothers and sisters to exist. That got to exist in us first for ourselves. That's the only way or reason why we see it being displayed or acted out towards another brother and sister. It's crazy, but I think that's what it is. Let me get some of these questions, man, and I'm going to jump back into there, man, because there's another part to it. All right. It ain't about controlling. It's about dropping these gems and jewels, bro. Hold on, though. So Fat Rat did answer, man. I appreciate that, bro. Chris said, do you think all the awakening is after the COVID fiasco? Damn, that's crazy. I don't know, man. I think, man, that could be considered, but no, man, I think that it started to occur before that. That's what I think. I think it started to occur before that. And I'll let me think about it, go back some years in my mind and try to give you an example of why I say that, what occurred or, would make me think that, because a lot has transpired, man, between COVID and now, as well as before COVID. A lot has transpired that got us in this mind frame that, amen, yeah, we're at war. These people are trying, a lot has occurred, man. A lot of atrocities have happened, have been committed against our people, man, here in these United States, man, that I think could very well have been the catalyst, that spark, that started that, this awakening that we're all talking about today. I don't know. Something to think about. I don't know, bro. But yeah. So Smoke said, man, the reason all things must be made new, universal creation through is to manifest the will to what matters the most. I mean, let me read that again because it sounds like I butchered it. The reason all things must be made new, universal creation through is to manifest the will to what matters the most. And yeah, I'm not even going to try to throw shit in there. Chris, and I was thinking of George Floyd, man, as being a catalyst, but I think it's even before that. George Floyd was just another brother's life lost, another one of our brothers, whose life was lost, that compounded issues that transpired to happen before his murder happened. You know what I mean? Just for instance, that's what I think. Fat Rat Playboy said, man, I don't want to control the narrative, Big Bub, but he say wisdom. And there's nothing wrong with man jumping in, man, and leading. That's what we do. That's what we should do, especially those who are capable of leading. I don't have a problem with it, but yeah, wisdom. So you're saying, let me go back to the original question. All right, what is the main reason all things must be made new? And your answer is wisdom. Wisdom is the reason. Yeah, appreciate you dropping that. All right. Soldier Denise. How's the queen, sister? Good to see you up in here tonight, mama. Peace and prosperity, you and the family. All right, good to have you. You jumping in here right away. I love it. And you're saying, I'm here too, bub. I just can't interact. Peace to you, Queen and Zinga 74, and the sister queens. Love and blessings to the RGC brothers and sisters. The fact that you're there, it matters. It means a lot to us. You're still loved. All right. And Chris said he has a point. Smoke said, man, the reason all things are made new is to manifest through the universe to will what matters the most. So to manifest through the universe to will. So is it to will wisdom? Is wisdom what matters most? And I'm asking, I'm just asking. Because again, I didn't want to throw my hat in there and, because I'm not sure. Shit, But Fat Rat Playboy said, man, that reason, the cause for its being is wisdom. All right. It is wisdom. And Smoke says the reason all things are made new is to manifest through the universe to will what matters the most. So is wisdom the thing that matters the most? I don't know. I don't know. Smoke goes on to say, man, the will of God is a birthright. All right. Rakufu said, man, let me state for the record, as long as we have division amongst our people, we African Americans must unite and solidify as a unit of political power, moving as a whole and working with our Black family all over the world. From that perspective, all other Black nations celebrate their uniqueness as well as we African Americans should. You know, and I appreciate you saying that. You know, as long as we have, again, what you're saying, as long as we have division amongst us, our people, we African Americans, well, let me state for the record, as long as we have division amongst our people, we African Americans must unite and solidify as a unit of political power, moving as a whole and working with our Black family all over the world from that perspective. And the fact that you dropped that comment made me think about what's happening in the South, for instance. Yesterday, if most of you should know or would know, the Supreme Court SCOTUS, went and attacked provisions in the 1965 Voting Rights Act, all right, Section 2 to be more specific. And what that did was, and I said this on a couple of, I dropped some stuff on it on the other channel. It really, what I think the move is about, and what I think the move is about purely is to disenfranchise the Black vote. That's it. That's it. To take something from us that we never really had, one, and if it was something that we actually had, then two, to take it from us, and as a result of that, weakening our position, our stance, or whatever the case may be. I think the whole move is to disenfranchise us. All right. But again, in terms of that, I think that if the vote was something that was actually real, and that served the people, again, I say, then there should be so much more we can see as a result of it that is not there. I can't see it, but that being said, if the vote actually, if it actually meant anything, man, then we squandered as a people. I think we squandered its potential to give us everything it could have given us. And I don't mean we squander it by not going to vote. I think it was squandered, or it has been squandered, because we just utilized the vote to put people in office, and then we did not make these people do their damn jobs. That's what I mean by we squandered it. We allowed ourselves to be hoodwinked and bamboozled by our own for our vote. And I say, and I stand by what I say, I don't see much we've acquired as a result of our vote being utilized. I don't see it. I just don't see it, man. In any respect, I don't see it in a perspective or in such a way or sense to where we can go down any one of these communities and say that building is as a result of such and such a representative making sure we had that building, and it now houses a STEM program, or that building, or that store, or that, you know what I mean? None of that. So that's what I mean by that. But to get to my point, so what happened in Tennessee yesterday should make a lot of us think, hey man, we better hurry up and get it together. We better hurry up and get it together, because that shit is in motion. Whatever their plan is for us, it's in motion. See, we didn't pay attention when Trump stripped DEI, that diversity, equity, inclusion thing, and took affirmative action. We wasn't paying attention, and our politicians didn't give a damn to know or have the wherewithal to realize something's up, and it's more than what we can just see on the surface, And some of these individuals, they tout being, law students and shit like that. But hey, man, they lack, man, insight. They lack initiative. They hey, man, when we dropped the ball, when Trump took DEI and affirmative action and a lot of other shit we not even mentioned, he want to remove certain artifacts, historical artifacts that speak to our experience here. When all that took place and we didn't go to war, we didn't mount up. That was our first mistake. Now they're coming in, and what they're doing is they're stripping the black man and woman of this thing called the vote. What that does is disenfranchise each and every district of black people. So if there's a community and it's majority black, they can't even, elect the individual to represent them. It would more than likely be a white person who's a Republican who would be their representatives. So now they don't have a voice. They have no one to speak for them. So in that respect, I say we have been disenfranchised. And as a result of that, I'm telling you guys, there's something else coming. See, now all along, we should have knew they were coming after us. We've been saying this when we saw what they were doing or with the immigration issue, the policy, No, we didn't sat back. We didn't got so cool and comfy in our popcorn and sodas and watched this spectacle. We forgot to mount. We forgot to prepare. Something's up. Something is about to happen, man. They about to drop the hammer on us. And it's going to be way before Trump's 4 years is over. Hey, man, I think that's just the tip of the iceberg right there. We've effectively been disenfranchised. So as a result of Louisiana doing this and taking that up in the Supreme Court, getting a hold of it, Tennessee immediately went and did what they did. They immediately stopped the elections. They stopped all that. So all them votes may still count, but what they're doing is they're redistricting. They're drawing. There's no longer, let's say, for instance, the 86th district in Memphis, Tennessee. That's history. That now as we speak, is being chopped up and divvied out to other white districts. Blacks don't even have a district. That's what it's going to boil down to. So that in that respect, we're being disenfranchised. And if that occurred, if they stripped us of a vote that could mean something or that should mean something, then what else is happening, man? I say that's just the beginning. That's what I say, But that brother, I think his name is Pearson, man. He went in. I dropped a piece on that today. He went in and he spoke truth to power. But it's gonna have to be more than speeches now. Them brothers down south better get ready. Now, as a result of what I say, Louisiana, Tennessee, now South Carolina's jumping in, Florida's jumping in, Alabama's jumping in, Mississippi's talking about, man. So the whole South is about to go back to how it used to be. Blacks being disenfranchised, where their votes are not even going to be, counted. It's not going to matter, man. It's not going to matter. And I say, man, there's something bigger coming, and we need to prepare for this, but while this is happening, and it's happening right under our noses, this shit been going on. Y'all, but we've been caught up with each other, worried about who FBA, who's Black American, African American, what the diaspora is talking about and doing in regards to how we've been living in our culture. This is the distraction. All the while, man, they in them think tanks, man. They're in them think tanks figuring this shit out. And honestly, they don't have to do much, man, because the Constitution does not really represent any of us. I wouldn't give a damn, man. For real. That shit don't got nothing to do with us. So yeah, man, this is what's happening. And we got to see the bigger picture, man. We got to see the bigger picture. And that has to be, like brothers and sisters saying, we have to start uniting. We have to get over whatever issues we got with one another, man. First, we have to get over those issues we have with ourselves so that we are able, man, to start interacting and communicating with one another. That's the script. Until then, man, I'm telling you, man, we fucked. And we're gonna see real soon just how fucked we are. You know. Hey man, these people think I swear to you, they think they got us by the balls. You know, I've been watching them smiles on their faces that, you know, they've been in them back rooms trying to figure it out. They okay. And they got the Supreme Court to help them do it. Samuel Alito, man, went and used some incorrect data from the Department of Justice, of all people, to help them make their decision. The fix is in. So that means something else is happening, man. They're gearing up for something else. We better get ready. We better get ready. And if brothers and sisters think they about to get in these streets and protest and ain't nothing gonna happen, you got another thing coming. Y'all don't think they bought ICE out here just for them immigrants and the Mexicans and, you know, all these other people? No, y'all can't think that, man. Y'all can't think that. And they're upset that we ain't jumped in the fray yet because they was going to bust our heads. They've been waiting. So a lot of them are upset that we ain't bit the bait yet. But now, think about it. We have something to bite the bait about. At least a lot of us think that. That's being stripped of the vote, being disenfranchised, you know, from the political process. So what that's going to bring, all right? Protests. What that's going to bring, violence. And this is what they waiting on. I'm just saying, man, we got to see the bigger picture, man. That's it. Let me get back to this, man. You know, I digress. Rakufu goes on to say, man, all other black nations celebrate their uniqueness, okay, as well as we African Americans should. Smoke said, man, listen, man, the Schumann residence is the reason we are waking up. It's our downloads. What's the Schumann residence, bro? Go and break that down. You know, just lace us with something. I know it got to be something behind that, so I'm waiting. I'm listening. Fat Rat said, man, think about the fact that we have been the global majority every single day of the 15,112 years we've been in this calendar of our history. You say 15,000 in this calendar year. You talking about has it been 15,000 years? What is that called? The Gregorian calendar? What is that called? Is that the calendar you're referring to? But anyway, I'm just trying to understand. Think about the fact that we have been the global majority every single day of the 15,112 years we've been in this calendar of our history. And yet we run nothing. Make that make sense though, right? We run nothing, man. We are the majority. And not only that, but the majority of the resources belong to indigenous as well as melanated people. But we run nothing. Or we struggle to run our own, to be sovereign or whatever, you know? It's crazy. All right, Poke, I see you, loved one. He said, man, what to do, bub? Salute to you and the UTG and the RGC. Focus on the focus. And what it do, Fat Rat. Salute right back to you, Poke. Good to see you up in here, bro. He said, what we talking about, bub? Man, we have unity. Shit. Trying to figure out, man, how to, wade through the BS, man, to get to the point where, man, we communicate with one another, you know? And through that, hopefully we start to unite. You know, that we, put all these distractions, man, to the side, man. And not everything is a distraction, but, I don't know, man. I'm trying to understand, man. How do we get to the point, man, where we're talking about B1, man, and how it, should serve us, how we should represent it, to the point where it does something for us or continues to elevate us and awaken us or wake us up, man. That's I think that's the gist of it, that's the gist of it, man. Farrah said, man, every system we erected has been defeated by an enemy with less qualification. I agree with you there wholeheartedly. I've read that, in fact. I agree with you wholeheartedly, bro. Man, god dang, don't I want to be able to post this, man, with no problem. I don't want YouTube to say nothing to me, but man, these damn idiots, man, how the hell did this happen? It leads one to think that, okay, maybe there is something at play that determined or dictated that this occurred to us, that this happened to us. Maybe there's some validity to that. I don't know. But let's say, aside from that, these people are idiots, man. These people ain't created jack worth bragging about. Well, I'm pretty sure a lot of them would beg to differ. In a way, I also beg to differ. They have an economic what do you call it, man? System that is, man, the world over. You know what I mean? Everybody uses it, so you got to give them that. But I don't want to give them full credit for that, because I kind of understand that capitalism is also one of our designs. You know what I mean? So, it's just how they use it. It's monstrous, man. It's crazy. But yeah, Farrah, you got a point. Every system, man, was erected. Every system we erected has been defeated by an enemy with less qualification. Damn, how the hell that happened? Wisdom suggests I don't control the narrative, but I'm in, bub. I heard you. Okay, got you. You say no. Wisdom suggests I don't control. No. Drop them jewels, Fat Rat, man. Quit playing, man. Come on. Shit. Lace us up tight, bro. Going to say, Poke, man, what's good, my bro? Okay, there y'all go, man. Poke said, man, I think growing is a part of what it is to be new, as in personal growth. Yeah, I think that's a new experience, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like, I want to say like a metamorphosis, a change, like that caterpillar to a butterfly type of get down, man. But in any respect, man, there is that process of growth. And with that, I'm pretty sure a lot of us would agree that, yeah, with growth comes knowledge, new shit, we learn anew. So I don't know. I can't speak on exactly, but hey, man, there's that possibility. Henry said, man, straight devils. Smoke said, man, Donald Trump is the last president of the U.S. corporation while distributing the power to the indigenous people. There would not be another president. The matriarchal rule will be in control again, I say. It's crazy you say that. Me and my wife were just talking last night about this. We agree. And people want to say, you can say what you want about Trump, but let's get one thing straight. Trump is just a figurehead, man. There's a lot at play here, man, again, that we don't get, that we don't see, just outright just yet. But I'm gonna throw this in there right quick. We get it together, man, we'll be able to see all this shit, man, and call it for it happen. Put them in check, stop them before all this happen. But there's a lot of play, man, we don't see, we don't get. And we agree that something is at work. Donald, there won't be another. There won't be another. Not at him. It's just something about it, man. There's a cold and weird energy to this shit, man, that says, man, hey, some shit is about to go down, y'all. It's coming. It's coming. I trip off how Pete Hegseth called himself, or they called themselves, remaking the military, and how they got rid of people from the military that didn't jibe with what they think the military should be about, what it should be made of. And they said it, they didn't say it outright, they said it in code. It's supposed to be a military built to serve white supremacy. That was it. That was all. And they went into firing generals, got rid of most of the black ones, and most of those who didn't see eye to eye with them in terms of, all this these alphabet people and, just being woke, they pretty much gutted the, the top brass and started to replace them with their people. So, yeah, hey, man, it's something going on, man. I have to say that. But again, we've been, I don't know, we're seeing it, but we're not reacting to it quick enough, if such a thing is even possible. But there's something going on, and we need to get ready, man. Donald Trump will probably be the last president of the United States. It may stop at 47. It may stop at 47. He has all the major players in the world on his side. Forget what we see in here, in terms of especially other countries, in the West. Everybody he need to have on his side here in these United States to keep going what they got going on are on his side. Let's put it like that. Most of the Democrats are ineffectual. They don't know what they're doing. Most of them are all, look, man, they're so corrupt, man. There's no way in the world they'll do the right thing. You know what I mean? So again, they watched this shit happen. In fact, they let it happen. There's no other way to put that, because they are in agreement with what's gonna happen. They'll be able to retain their spots, their seats. Though those seats won't really mean anything anymore, but they won't be put with the rest of us. Put it like that. So something's happening. And I think about it every day. I be trying to figure it out, man. I ain't gonna lie. I be trying to figure it out, man. Sam Evans, man, he said, man, voting has turned to one of the biggest cons for Black people because the system is putting the same gatekeepers in place. Thank you. I agree wholeheartedly. Again, man, we talked about this last night in terms of people that they put in place, but we tend to believe or think that those individuals did it themselves, or we did it. We chose them. Those individuals, man, who are good for us, right? Just think about this. They're all gone. That could have made a difference, could have sparked brains, ignited, that spark, could have activated that get down, all of them are gone. And I'm not just talking about the intellectuals or the politicians, I'm talking about street level individuals as well, right? All of them are gone, man. They thought about this shit long and hard. They got thoughts about us, man, that goes into the next 50 years, 100 years. Should they last? Should we, not wake up? You know what I mean? They got one for when we wake up. And they pretty much know that if that occurs, that shit they got laying in wait for us ain't gonna work, But that's the hope that they have. Listen, man, anybody that was was with the businessmen, they are gone, right? So, and they were replaced by individuals, man, that, and a lot of us, we love these people, man. We love them. But because of our love for them, we aren't seeing straight. We aren't seeing straight, man. They serve the system. They serve the system, man. They serve the system, each and every one of them. Each and every one of them are gatekeepers in their own way. They all have an assignment. They all have a gate to keep, and they all are keeping that gate. Each and every one of them, even the ones that talk good, that sound good to us, that say the right shit. All right? Yeah, let's have that conversation, Appreciate that, Sam Evans. Smoke said, man, international law is here. The American people will be the owners of the planet again, like we did as Pangea. Yeah. You say international law is here. The American people will be the owners of the planet again, like we did as Pangea. Yeah. I was just reading something today about international law and how it's being. Yeah. You know what? It's us, man. It's gonna take us. Bottom line. You know, I was watching something today, and I was shocked to see it. And I sat back from. I said, "Wait a minute, man. Is this some shit where they trying to get hits or something?" Because this don't, you know, it wasn't that it didn't feel right. It just didn't sound right. That, you know, and I'm like, wait a minute. But they are white people, and they're saying we're fucked. And they're not saying they're fucked because we're waking up now. They're saying we're fucked because of who they see in power and what's happening. And in the same breath, they're saying the black people gonna have to save us. That's another trip to me. I actually see this and I trust it for what it is. There are other people outside of our persuasion, you know, this melanated persuasion, that see the light, that gets it. And they are saying, hey man, wait a minute. Woo. When are y'all gonna save us, man? Because this shit here, this some scary shit. You know, they are waking up as well. Not in the same respect, you know what I mean, but they are. So I saw this shit today and I said, man, goddamn, this is some real shit. So I just got to do a little, you know, research and certain. Hey man, there's a whole lot of them that are acting like this, that are saying these things, that are acknowledging it's us. You know, it's us, to put it plainly. It's us that's going to do what needs to be done, not just for us on this planet, but everybody, you know. And I kind of, you know, it jives with me a little bit, but just to hear it was like, damn, this is some crazy shit, you know. And I guess that's the thing, man. There's a lot of crazy shit happening, right? A lot of crazy shit happening, man. You know, so it fits. Fat Rat said, man, the Amish thrive in their respective towns without involvement in that concrete jungle. And yeah, be that as it may, right, Fat Rat? I watched the program on that. You know, so a lot of their youth are starting to leave the fold, though, right? And so I got to wonder, okay, why? And it's because somehow, some way, information is getting in, you know? What's happening outside of that society and those traditions are starting to, the youth are becoming curious, you know, and they're lighting out, man. You know, they're leaving. You know, they're leaving. You know, so I you know, though that structure, that get down, man, is one that you got to tip your hat to them. They've been doing that shit a long time, man. You know, what they call it, bartering and shit. They don't worry about money and all this shit we do. They don't have these problems. You know, they don't worry about subsidies from the government to grow their crops, you know, to feed their cattle, shit like that, man. They've been doing that damn thing, man. That's the truth. You know, so yeah, that is a whole different play. Perspective, mindset, even, you know. Yeah, no involvement. That motherfucker still with the horse and the buggy, man. Horse and the carriage, you know, senorita. You know, they getting that buggy and that horse. They go about they ain't tripping. They see the cars, they see the cell phone, but hey man, for the most part, yeah. The adults, you know, and you know, to be quite fair, you know, some of the youth, or maybe most of the youth, still stick to that script. Yeah, then that takes a cold. But no, it's a lot of discipline, man, a lot of acceptance of, you know, knowing who they are, I imagine, you know, respecting their identity, you know, I don't know. That's some cold shit and something to think about, no doubt. B60 said, man, Governor Landry took the senator races off the ballot pending redistricting. That's exactly what he did. Yeah, that's exactly what he did. But the coldest part is that they're about to chop up the 86th district. And that district is representative of the brother Pearson. He's the one who gave that speech yesterday, you know, on the Florida House in Tennessee, man. you know, and then I swear, man, yeah, it was strong. But I just like to think that he got to know, man, it's going to take more than that now, because that's pretty much gone. You know what I mean? Unless they can figure out some or devise some type of plan to get that shit back in the courts. Other than that, man, that shit gone, man. And I don't see them giving that back. I don't give a fuck what they come up with. Excuse my language. I don't care what they come up with. They're not giving that back. Nah, I don't see that. Smoke say, hey, we ready. Hey, man, what's that saying? We know, man, and all of us got to know this one. Stay ready and got to get ready. But continue to prepare, you know? Because, man, shit. Stevie Wonder can see this shit. He can see this shit with Ray Charles's blindness. They about to put it down. Folks say, Fat Rat Man, I hear you on the enemy. I hear you on the enemy having less qualification, but is it because we have took ourselves out of the game of life, which is the way of non-existence? We have to find a way to exist among brothers. All right. Okay, Fat Rat, you're talking about the Asiatic calendar. Okay, got you. That 15,112. Okay, I think that's what it was. All right, got you, bro. Smoke said, Schumann resonance is the light and frequency of the planet connected to our consciousness through telepathy, which is the first language of the planet. We are one. Yeah, words without being spoken. Y'all familiar with that? Anybody familiar with that? That's a good one. I appreciate that. Man. Smoke said, man, Schumann resonance is the light and frequency. Let me write that down because hold on. Okay. Schumann resonance is the light and frequency of the planet connected to our consciousness through telepathy, which is the first language of the planet. We are one. Ha, love it. Appreciate that, Smoke. Rakufu say, Bub, have you ever played Mancala? It's an ancient African Ethiopian game. No, I have not. It's about math. No, I haven't. Is that anything similar to the abacus? I don't know. I've never heard of it. Learn something new. Let me write that one down too. Mancala. All right. Got you, bro. Smoke said, man, when we see each other, we are witnessing the faces of God. See, I can dig that, bro. I ain't got no problem with that. Shit. And that's how I want to see my brothers and sisters. It's gods and goddesses, man. That's it. Because then I know that reflects me. That's me. You know, I don't got no problem with that, man. I love that. We should love that, man. We should love to be able to see each other like that. That's how we should see each other, period. None less. Fat Rat said, man, so it has to be taken down. Whatever value we place on it, it failed us in every stratagem of war. So a new day is dawning. And that's is in response to that question you asked. I take it, Fat Rat, right? So it has to be taken down. Whatever value we place on it, it failed us in every stratagem of war. So a new day is dawning. I love that too. I can live with that too. You know? Fat Rat said, Pope, the part we actually played in losing power and being subjugated has very little to do with any of our individual aspirations. I will talk to you directly on that one and share here with Bub. I should have, man, wish you would have went on, man. Shit. Fat Rat said, man, Farrakhan stated that Trump would be the last president when Trump was in his first term. So I am processing with the 5 W's. What are they? So I'm processing on the 5 W's. All right, Alonzo, you're late, but you're here. Better late than never, as they say, brother. You all right? You all right, brother? Right. Good to see you, man. Peace and prosperity to you and the family, bro. All right. Love and respect. You're going to say, man, I'm late. Peace to everyone in RGC and you, Bub, and your family. Right back to you, bro. You say, I'll catch the replay. Appreciate that. As a matter of fact, man, let me drop this, man. Like and share this. Get out, man. This is Undergroove Podcast, man. For those of you who haven't subscribed, please do. Go back in if you haven't. Like and subscribe to this. Get out, man. And after the fact, maybe tonight or tomorrow while you're driving, you got a little time in your hand, go in there, man, and play it over again, man. Give it a little like, give it some more, shares, help this thing go, help it grow, y'all. Appreciate that. Appreciate you saying that too, Alonzo. Catching it on the game. I do that. I go in the next day, man. I listen to, I don't like listen to myself talk, but sometimes because I'm my worst critic. My worst critic. I don't get depressed or nothing. I'm like, all right, man, work on that. Work on that. I had a loved one tell me the other day, man, we were hanging out at the house, celebrating my 10th year home. And he said, man, I love what the hell you do, man. You do that shit. You do it right. You the one supposed to be doing it. Da, da, da. He said, man, do me one favor. I said, what's that, man? What's that, homie? He said, man, stop blinking so goddamn much. I started laughing. I said, man, listen, bro. I said, you gotta understand. And I know it's not good, right? I know this. I said, but when I'm in my thoughts, man, I close my eyes, man, I see it. I see all of it, And it's, when my eyes open and then I'm like, damn, I want to close my eyes, man, and just speak, man. Let this shit flow like it's supposed to. I ain't gonna have no problems, He said, no, man, but, just do it, It's aesthetics, man. They look, I said, all right, bro, I hear you loud and clear. So I've been working on that. Man. I just had to throw that in there, man, just, for throwing it in there's sake, Yeah. Shout out to you, loved one. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Appreciate your presence too, bro. Yeah, man. Good to have you up in here, Lonzo. Real spit, man. Catch the replay. And like I say, I do, I'm my own worst critic. Governor Landry holding congressional votes pending redistricting. Yeah, that's what's happening. And again, so a lot of these southern states are about to do this. In fact, some of them are actually not even going to, do the vote thing until they make sure they can do this redistricting thing. That's a wrap, man. Again, that I think that has to do with a bigger play that's coming down the pipes at us, man. To say the least. That's what I think it is, man. Yep. All right, Alonzo say, yo, I was reading today. Yo, it says dreams are super important to our people. Hey, I pay attention to mine. I ain't gonna lie. I be trying to remember them too. You know how you wake up in a good dream? You can't remember half of that dream. But I'm getting to a point when most of my dreams I can remember, So when I get up, that rise and that grand rising occur and I'm 10 toes down, I'm immediately, recalling it, because I don't know, it could be, something very valuable in there for me, for a brother. So that's why I do it, But yeah, man, but especially the ones we remember. I was mentioning that the other day. I had these dreams, and I don't know, they call them premonitions or whatever. And this shit actually happened, but it'd be on a low vibration, nothing serious and shit. But I recognize them immediately, and I'm always telling my wife, "Damn, baby, this, that, and the third." And I try to relate to her what's gonna happen, how shit's gonna play out. I love that I have the ability to do that just a little bit. I love that. You're going to say, Alonzo, our people actually wrote down their dreams and passed those writings down. Unbelievable. Fat Rat said, man, we are going into a world where the Amish demo as a survival mode will be the paradigm. It's going to be the script, no doubt. It's going to be the script, no doubt, man. Yeah, it's going to be the precedent. It's crazy you say that. We all have to think like this, man, especially, when we have the discussions we have, when we talking about, awakening, that melanin being, that thing that, that's activated, or it's being activated. When we talk about this, a lot of shit come to mind. The wife and I talk about all kind of stuff like this, how certain people live. And I'm gonna use this just, example, like off the grid, you know what I mean? And I asked my wife often, I wonder if she get what I asked, can you do that? Because I'm more than down for that. I hate the system. I think the system is a detriment to us and has always been a detriment to us. I don't like participating in this shit. I just don't, and I mean that shit. But, I asked my wife this stuff, man, can you handle it? And then every day I'm lacing her, advising her about something, guiding her, trying to impart some type of information in terms of, off the grid type situation, should it ever occur, how to go about, doing what, she was asking me the other day, we were talking about plants, things of that nature, how to tell different plants, what plants are poisonous, as opposed to which ones aren't, what plants you can eat, as opposed to which plants you can't eat, in case you're in a position where you're starving, there are certain things we can eat. A lot of people don't know that, there's all kind of stuff, but it's crazy you mentioned that, bro. Fat Rat, those are the type of conversations we have. We talk about that. The Amish, yeah, they are the example. They will be for sure. You're going to say, man, they control on the basis of dependency. That's it. That's the system. Break that shackle and the opportunity to self-determine comes to life. We are higher in number in these politricks than ever before and less effective. Read that again, man. They control on the basis of dependency. All right. Break that shackle and the opportunity to self-determine comes to life. We are higher in number in these politricks than ever before and less effective. Farad is asking Schumann, telepathy, question mark, or radio in the head. Moreover, being metaphysicists. All right. At this point, we are losing in every language. Deep. Deep. Man, one day, man, I'm gonna talk about some shit. One day. Okay, yeah, the who, what, where, whys, and wins. Okay, got you, bro. That's crazy. Now look, and I don't know if you can see this. The 5 W's, Fat Rat, and I put the how down there anyway. Yeah. So yeah, obviously I blanked out. Yeah, the who, what, where, when, and why. 5 W's, y'all. Peace to you, brother Alonzo. That was B60, man. Fat Rat said, man, my comments seem scattered, bub. However, I'm pointed at the direction things being said. Any advice on controlling that? Well, the advice was given to me. This is the advice I got from my wife. She told me that when I'm talking about I'm commenting on a comment or reading it or whatever, and I get to speaking on it, cut that shit short, so I could keep up with the comments, and so that those who are dropping the comments could keep up as well. So I'm at fault mostly for that. So to answer your question, bro, yeah, I think the advice should be applied to me. I should listen to my own advice and slow down. How I do this so that, we can keep a certain pace or keep it, everything, these comments in a certain order. And that was the advice I did get from my wife, and I get it often. So by you saying that, Fat Rat, I'm gonna hear it again. Just let you know. And that's okay, man. That's okay. Shit. That's okay. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think yeah, it's a matter of me. I need to make my comments or my expressions about whatever, man, a little more concise, shorten them, a little more brevity than my shit. That's what I think I'll do. I think I'll do that. My brain be filled though. I ain't gonna lie, man. And I'm pretty sure y'all can relate, man. A lot of you brothers have shit y'all be talking about. Be like, what the fuck, And that come from a mind, I think, that has always got something in that, always got something in it, man, churning. You got them that them posters going over there, So yeah, I'm doing it again. All right. Oh shit. All right. Smoke say, man, I'm maneuvering around with a warrant right now. All right, bro. Say less. Say less. Peace and safety, bro. Ancestors got their eye on you, got your back. No doubt. No doubt. All right, I'll see you up in there. You dropped 5 of them. Damn, that's a lot of work. Good to see you up in here, though, bro. A real sister is back. What a pleasure. How's our queen doing? Good to see you back up here, up in here amongst us sisters. It's an honor to always have the sisters, the queen sisters, as part of this get down. Good to see you. Good to see you. Whether or not, All right, Lonzo, he said, man, sorry, real sister, okay. How are you? Thank you for telling me. I will fix that. It's my first time using Zoom. I'm not familiar. She going to say, I'm blessed by the best. Hallelujah. All right. Yeah, hey, Henry, yeah, man. Henry say, man, the wifey is using her wisdom, and salute to her for that. Brother Bub, how is it? How is the diet going for you guys anyway? Yeah, man, listen. I just keep it a buck, man. I've grown accustomed to it. I'm a type of brother, real serious speaking, I know how to adapt and adjust real quick. So I've adapted and adjusted, me first complaining about being hungry all the time, last night was good with no problems, I'm used to it, man. And again, for me, it's always been like vegetables anyway, I throw a little fish in there from time to time. But the portions is what would cut down as well. And that's fine, I'm cool with it. I don't have no problems, man. I'm up in there. And I was just asking the wife, that's how much longer we got, I think it's about another 2 more weeks, I think. 2 more weeks. But so far, so good. So far, so good. You know what I'm saying? You know how that is. We have certain habits and, we don't want to let them go because they were so good. That's what it was. And that's why I seem to have been complaining all the time. I wanted more on my plate. That's what it was, man. Yeah. All right, everybody. It looks like that time. Let me drop something for these sisters, these queen mothers up in this get down. I would like to, say to each and every one of you to have a happy Mother's Day, this coming Mother's Day. But that should be every day. You sisters are phenomenal. You're phenomenal Black women. I acknowledge that, and I mean that. For all you brothers who have a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister, auntie, happy Mother's Day to them beautiful women. And let's make sure we continue, or we get to the point where we're always treating them as the queens and goddesses that they are, it's just a matter of that, just treating them the way they need to be treated. All right. So again, I want to send out my love and respect to the queens, our sisters, you guys take care of yourselves, continue to take care of them families, be all you can be. All right. Be the example. Be the example. All right. That being said, y'all, I gotta cut out. It's that time. I love my brothers, like I love my sisters. This thing, man, that's in front of us. This is for us to do. Simply said, just simply put, this is our work. This is our work, and it's like the work at a job, man. It's like the work, man, in the household, in our relationships. It's the same type of get down, It's no one else's, man. It's ours to do. So, let's get it. Let's get it, man. Let's get it done. All right. On that note, love yourselves so that you can love each other, man. Take care of yourself so that when that time comes, you'll be able to support and help take care of another brother and sister. All right. That being said, power is in the people. Power is in the people. It was put there, actually. It was put there, actually. So power is in the people. Let's utilize it. All right. You are, you have been, and you will be under the groove. Have a great Friday, rest of your night, and may your weekend be everything you set out for it to be. Take care of yourselves. Love and respect, people. One love.
Count the names, count the bodies, count the victory. Cullen Hughes, Hurston writing future history. From the Apollo to the Borough to the Sphere. Where the echo of those Harlem nights still ringing clear. So when they ask what happened in those tenement flats, between the spirituals and where consciousness is at, tell them we transformed suffering to scholarship and song. Tell them we've been telling you we're brilliant all along. The Renaissance will prologue every decade since the sequel. Every black child born's continuation of the people who survived the Middle Passage, survived the Jim Crow laws, and built magnificence from nothing but their vision and their flaws. It's in the sergeant, this is once a less than. Had this and Mercedes, please don't you, I can't stop us. Power sensitive, watch the applause for polls. Need your data, torture, console, any problem when the wet just wanna build the seats and bait. Now don't get the pause. It's just erasing up the times, plead the markets off the main. Make it on the fans, turn and neck and love the durn suffers like a kesha. You been wrong to preaching up on side and see chillun, bitch on the shit and untrue seeing vets and wonder very it's on Gary Land. Be hell in heaven, you see what the Bonavir. You wait talking for the Margaret to keep him from the trumpets on the boards to the Sangaland is carried open stone to keep us looking on my mother, break your generosity for the he and let the peasant be and every time we keep a spawn.